what world-class innovators do to accomplish that is they think big. They think boldly. They get themselves out of a mindset in which we're going to do a lot of small incremental steps. We are going to accomplish big things. We're going to pursue big ideas. We're going to pursue big projects. We are going to challenge ourselves to think differently, such that when we get into the future, it's going to be a very different future. Bill Gates, he made the observation a few years ago, if you think about it, most people tend to overestimate the rate of change that is going to occur on a 2-year basis. They underestimate the rate of change that is going to occur on a 10-year basis. Do we have any idea of what the global energy industry is going to look like by the year 2022? Do we have any idea of how quickly it is going to evolve? Do we have any idea of the accelerating rate of change that is occurring right now with the evolution of technology and the evolution of methodologies and the evolution of ideas and the evolution of science that is driving global utilities? The future is going to change faster than you think, and the future belongs to those who are fast. People don't think big enough in terms of what we can do. People don't challenge themselves. We could be going through a period of time in which there are big, bold, fascinating changes underway. Back in 2005, I was brought over to Stuttgart, Germany, 20 executives. It was a small, intimate get-together, and it was a session to focus on the global auto industry of 2015. What would the industry look like? Who would be, the players? What would be the technology? They brought me in as an outside futurist to provide some, external guidance and challenging insight on what could happen. The entire first morning, we had 20 executives, 10 German, 10 American, talking about the auto industry of 2015. And most of their time in the first 2 hours was spent on trying to identify what their competitors would be doing. So they talked about Honda, they talked about Toyota, they talked about Ford, they talked about all their existing competitors. In my world, I live in a world of constant business change. My world, I live in a world in which business models are continually challenged. In my world, I witness a world in which people come into industries and look at how that industry is run and challenge themselves to do it in a different way, to seize opportunity. And so finally, listening to these executives, I said to them, I think maybe you have it all wrong. I said, by 2015, maybe there will be a different car company competitor that you're really going to have to deal with in different ways because they are going to think in such a fundamentally different way. I said to them, maybe Google, the search engine, will be your competitor in the auto industry in 2015. And they all gave me a quizzical look. And I said to them, think about it. Right now, this is 2004. This is when Google Maps was first appearing. And I said to them, right now, we could have a couple of executives at Google, headquarters down in Mountain View, California, Silicon Valley, who are looking at Google Maps. And one of them looks at it and says, this is really cool. We should build a car around this. And I said to them, what Google is going to do, they're not actually going to build the car. They're simply going to hire someone to build the car on their behalf. They'll find an existing car manufacturer in Brazil, India, China, Tennessee, doesn't matter. They'll get someone to build the car on their behalf. And I said, Google is going to be very much into changing business models. They're not going to have auto dealers. Nobody likes auto dealers. Nobody likes the experience of going to a dealer to buy a car. Instead, what they're going to do, recognizing the consumers are changing, is they're going to sell the car to you online. You're going to buy it a year in advance as a beta. Everything Google does, they do it as a beta. And Google, they're going to be big on logistics and partnerships. So they're going to line up a deal with FedEx. They'll deliver the car to you in a box. What I said is that Google understands marketing. They understand buzz. So when this car is delivered to you in a box in your driveway, inside the box is going to be the Google car party in a box. You're going to have Google car wine and Google car hats and Google car streamers, Google car confetti. You're going to invite all your neighbors over. It's going to be a big party because you got the Google car. I've got 20 auto executives in Stuttgart, Germany, who are listening to me as I'm getting excited about the potential for Google to be a car company. What do you think's going through their mind? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And isn't that what we do with innovative thinking? Somebody comes up with a radical idea. Somebody comes up with a concept. Somebody comes up with ideas which could potentially change the world. And you know what? A lot of us are in a mindset and in an organization in which we have an organizational sclerosis that shuts down our ability to try to pursue new ideas. We're so caught up in the current. We are so caught up in routine. We are so caught up in thinking small in terms of what we need to do that we fail to miss the opportunities to think big. Think about the excuses we make, in our organizations when somebody comes up with a new idea. I am convinced in every single organization, when it comes to innovation, there are people who wake up in the morning, the very first thought that comes to their mind is, what am I going to do today to kill great ideas? Seriously, this is what they do. From the moment they wake up, and this is true because they come into the meetings that we have to talk about innovation and trying new ideas, and somebody comes up with a comment, well, you can't do that because we've always done it this way. Think about the innovation killer phrases, which we encounter on a regular basis. It won't work. Somebody comes up with a new idea. We should try and pursue some aggressive effort with the new Nest thermostat, that will allow consumers to interact with energy in their homes on a new and innovative way. Well, no, it won't work. Right? You think about the excuses we make. It's too risky. We don't want to take that risk. We're not prepared to take that risk. Why can't we keep doing what we've been doing all along? It isn't necessary. We need to grow global energy production by 35% to keep up with demand. We need to make big, bold, massive decisions in terms of what we need to accomplish. And the Google car. Anybody ever hear of Tesla Motors? It's actually built down the street, down in Southern California. It's an electric hybrid, very fascinating car. You buy the darn thing online. The two equity founders are the founders of Google. It's essentially the Google car that I was talking about in Stuttgart, Germany in 2004. There are people who are making big, bold bets, big, bold decisions. We are going to change the world and we are going to do things differently. Isn't that what we need to do? When we're thinking about the intelligence of the grid and what we need to do to roll out an infrastructure that is going to support an increasing use of hybrid vehicles, which are going to draw energy from the grid. We know the challenge. We know the depth of the challenge. And think about the scope of what we need to do. ExxonMobil suggests that 1 out of every 2 cars by the year 2040 will be a hybrid or some other alternative. How are we going to architect for that? Are we going to continue to talk about the problems, or are we going to aggressively innovate to ensure that we are ready for a world which is going to be very different?